The world was younger then, or so the stories tell us. Mists clung to the deep forests, thicker than any we know today. Shadows danced in the dappled sunlight, playing tricks on the eyes of mortals. In these ancient times, when magic seemed a more common thread in the tapestry of existence, people whispered of creatures. They spoke of beings imbued with magic, creatures of immense might and sometimes great gentleness. One such creature, spoken of in hushed and reverent tones, was the unicorn. It was said to resemble a horse, elegant and swift, but it was far more than just any horse. This creature was special, set apart by a singular, magnificent feature. It possessed a single horn spiraling gracefully from its forehead, a horn that was said to gleam with an inner ethereal light. This was the genesis of its legend, a tale first spun by flickering firesides, carried on the breath of awe. The very first tellers of these extraordinary tales lived many, many years ago in ages lost to time. They were in lands that now bear different names, places like ancient Greece and the far-off mysterious lands of India. A Greek doctor and historian named Ctesias, who lived in the 5th century BC, wrote of them in his chronicles. He had not seen one with his own eyes, it is important to note. He was a scholar, a collector of stories. He heard these accounts from travellers, from merchants who had undertaken perilous journeys to the east. These hardy souls spoke of wild asses encountered in the distant plains of India, creatures renowned for their incredible swiftness and untamable spirit. These animals, they insisted, bore a horn of remarkable coloration, white at its strong base, a deep black in its middle section, and a sharp, vibrant crimson at its very tip. A curious and unforgettable detail that. These early unicorns, as described in the nascent legends, were not always the gentle, placid beings we often imagine today. Ctesias, in his writings, painted a picture of them as decidedly fierce, wild, and unapproachable. They were incredibly fast, possessing a speed that could outstrip any pursuing horseman, making them creatures of mythic elusiveness. Their prominent horn was not merely an ornament, a thing of beauty, it was a formidable weapon. Capable of inflicting serious harm, they were perceived as powerful animals, commanding respect and perhaps a healthy measure of fear from those who knew the tales. Furthermore, people held a strong belief that the dust or scrapings from this magical horn, when powdered, could cure a multitude of illnesses. It was also thought to act as a potent antidote, able to protect one from deadly poisons. This belief naturally made the horn an incredibly valuable commodity, highly sought after by kings and healers alike. Even in those ancient days, the unicorn was a creature woven from threads of power and deep mystery, so the idea of the unicorn, this singular marvel, was born into the minds of men. It was born perhaps from the embellished tales of weary travellers, their memories coloured by distance and the unfamiliar. Maybe it was born from fleeting glimpses of real animals, seen from afar, their forms indistinct and open to imaginative interpretation. Or perhaps it was born from a deeper, more human place, a wish for something undeniably pure, something astonishingly powerful, something truly magical, in a world that often felt overwhelmingly harsh and unforgiving. The unicorn, from its very inception, was a symbol. It was a symbol of untamed wildness, of the raw, untethered spirit of nature. And it carried with it a potent promise of healing, of sanctuary, of protection against the unseen dangers of the world. Its story, a vibrant and enduring thread, was just beginning to gallop across the vast expanse of the world, from one culture to another. The story of the unicorn did not stay confined to one land or one people. Like seeds carried on the wind, its legend traveled far and wide. It crossed oceans and mountains, deserts and plains. In China, a creature called the, or in Japan and Korea, shared some similarities with the Western unicorn. That was often depicted with a single horn or sometimes two, and its appearances were considered incredibly auspicious omens. It was said to appear only during the reign of a wise and benevolent ruler or upon the birth of a great sage. Unlike the sometimes fierce unicorns of Greek lore, the was a gentle creature, so careful in its tread that it would not harm a single blade of grass nor any living insect. It represented peace, prosperity, and good fortune, a truly noble beast. Further west, in the lands of Persia, another horned creature graced their mythology. This was a powerful beast, often described as resembling a rhinoceros or a wild ox, but with that singular defining horn. that was said to be incredibly strong and territorial, capable of defeating elephants in battle. Its horn, much like the unicorns in other tales, was believed to possess magical properties, particularly the ability to detect and neutralize poison. Stories told of how other animals would wait to dip its horn into a watering hole, purifying it for all to drink. This highlights a recurring theme: the unicorn, or its counterparts, as a guardian and a source of purity, even when portrayed as formidable. It was a creature that commanded respect through its sheer power and its unique mystical attributes. In Europe during the Middle Ages, the unicorn became a potent symbol of purity, grace, and Christ. Its horn was widely believed to be the ultimate panacea, and capable of curing all diseases and rendering poisons harmless. Kings and nobles eagerly sought after these horns, often paying exorbitant sums for what were, in reality, most likely the tusks of narwhals or horns of other animals. The legend held that a unicorn could only be captured by a pure maiden. Its wild nature would be soothed by her innocence, and it would lay its head gently in her lap, making it vulnerable to hunters. This imagery became incredibly popular in art and literature, representing the triumph of purity and virtue over wild, untamed power. The unicorn was a creature of paradox, wild yet gentle, powerful yet vulnerable to innocence. Across these varied cultures, from the serene of the East to the fierce and the Christ-like unicorn of Europe, a common thread emerges. The single horn was almost always central to the creature's identity and its powers. Whether it symbolized good fortune, raw strength, or divine purity, the unicorn, in its many guises, captivated the human imagination. It was a creature that transcended mere animality, embodying ideals and aspirations. These tales, passed down through generations, painted a vivid picture of a world where such magical beings could exist, shaping beliefs and art for centuries. The echoes of these stories still resonate, reminding us of a time when the world felt full of undiscovered wonders and potent enchantments. The unicorn, as it pranced through the pages of myth and folklore, was not a creature of singular purpose. It wore many hats, or rather displayed its horn in many contexts. One of its most prominent roles was that of a healer, a magical physician. The belief in the curative powers of its horn, the alicorn, was incredibly widespread, especially in medieval Europe. People thought it could purify water, detect and neutralize poisons, cure epilepsy, rabies, fevers, and a host of other ailments. This made the unicorn a symbol of health and protection. Cups made from supposed unicorn horn were prized by royalty, as they were believed to reveal the presence of poison in a drink or even render it harmless. The hope for such a potent remedy was a powerful force in a time when medicine was rudimentary and life often precarious. Beyond its role as a healer, the unicorn was often depicted as a guardian. It was a protector of the innocent and the pure. The stories of unicorns only being tamed by virtuous maidens speak to this. In this context, the unicorn represented a wild, almost divine power that could be approached and pacified only by unsullied goodness. It was seen as a guardian of forests, a creature so pure that its very presence could keep dark forces at bay. This made it a symbol of hope, a beacon of light in a world that often seemed shadowed by danger and corruption. The idea that such a creature existed, watching over the virtuous, offered comfort and a sense of order in a chaotic world. It was a powerful, beautiful protector, a friend to those who were good and true. However, the unicorn was not always gentle. In many early accounts, particularly those stemming from Ctesias, it was a fierce and formidable beast. It was incredibly swift, impossible to catch, and its horn was a dangerous weapon. This aspect of the unicorn made it a symbol of untamed wilderness and indomitable strength. It could fight off lions and elephants, a true king of beasts in its own right. This ferocity, paradoxically, also contributed to the value of its horn. If such a powerful creature could be overcome, its horn must possess some of that incredible power. So, hunters pursued it not just for its healing properties, but as a testament to their own prowess, a trophy of immense prestige. The unicorn was a challenge, a wild spirit that many longed to conquer. Thus, the unicorn played multiple, sometimes contradictory roles in the stories told about it. It was a gentle healer, a fierce warrior, a pure guardian, and a coveted prize. These different facets reflected the complex desires and fears of the people who told its tales. They longed for healing, for protection, for a connection to the untamed natural world. and perhaps for the glory of capturing something so rare and magical. The unicorn was a mirror, reflecting back the many needs and dreams of humanity. Its story was rich and layered, offering something for everyone, from the sick seeking a cure to the brave seeking a challenge and the innocent seeking a kindred spirit. This adaptability ensured its enduring place in our collective imagination. When we delve into the ancient texts that first mention unicorn-like creatures, we are not always reading pure fantasy. The writers, like Ctesias or Pliny the Elder, were often attempting to document the natural world as they understood it, based on travelers' accounts and fragments of information. Ctesias, as we know, described a creature from India. He spoke of its size like a wild ass, its speed, and its distinctively colored horn. He mentioned its white body, dark red head, and blue eyes. These details, while perhaps exaggerated or misunderstood, might have been rooted in observations of real animals. Perhaps travelers saw a rhinoceros from a distance, or an antelope with a malformed horn, or even a species now extinct. The descriptions were specific enough to make people believe. Pliny the Elder, a Roman author and naturalist from the 1st century AD, also wrote about the unicorn, which he called the. He described it as a fierce animal with the body of a horse, the head of a stag, the feet of an elephant, and the tail of a boar. And of course, it had a single black horn about 2 cubits long, roughly 3 feet, projecting from the middle of its forehead. Pliny noted that it made a deep lowing sound and was impossible to capture alive. His description is a curious amalgamation of different animals, suggesting that perhaps the unicorn was a composite creature, born from confused accounts of several different powerful horned or tusked beasts encountered in faraway lands. The details were vivid, adding to the sense that such a creature might truly roam the earth. These ancient writers were not necessarily trying to deceive. They were scholars, attempting to catalogue the wonders of the world. In an age before widespread travel and scientific classification, hearsay and second-hand accounts were often the best information available. If a respected traveller returned from India or Africa with tales of a one-horned beast, who was to say it wasn't true? The world was vast and largely unexplored by Europeans. Many genuinely believed that these creatures existed in the remote corners of the globe, just waiting to be discovered. The conviction in these texts lent credibility to the myth, allowing it to take root and flourish for centuries. They provided what seemed like evidence, however anecdotal. The problem, of course, was the game of whispers. A traveller sees an Indian rhinoceros, perhaps only a fleeting glimpse. He describes it to someone else. That person adds a detail or misremembers another. By the time the story reaches a scholar like Ctesias or Pliny, it has been transformed. The rhinoceros's sturdy build and single horn might remain, but perhaps it gains the speed of an oryx or the mystical aura of a local legend. These ancient texts, therefore, are less a proof of unicorns and more a fascinating glimpse into how information traveled and transformed in the ancient world. They show us a genuine curiosity about nature, mixed with a willingness to believe in the marvelous, the extraordinary. The search for truth was there, even if the truth sometimes wore a spiraled horn. Section 5. The Sea's Unicorn Narwhals and Their Spiraled Ivory. For centuries, the legend of the unicorn was bolstered by tangible evidence, or so it seemed. Long spiraled horns, sometimes reaching impressive lengths of 7 or 8 feet, would occasionally wash ashore or be brought back by sailors from the icy northern seas. These were presented as genuine unicorn horns, or alicorns. They were incredibly valuable, sometimes worth more than their weight in gold. Kings and queens sought them for their supposed magical properties, especially the power to detect and neutralize poison. Pope Paul III was said to have paid 12,000 gold pieces for one, while Queen Elizabeth I of England reportedly had one valued at £10,000, the price of a castle at the time. These were not mere trinkets, they were symbols of power and security. The true source of these magnificent unicorn horns was, for a long time, a mystery to most of Europe. They came from a creature of the Arctic waters, a medium-sized whale known as the narwhal. The male narwhal possesses a single extraordinarily long tusk, an elongated canine tooth that projects from the left side of its upper jaw and spirals counterclockwise. Rarely a male might have two, or a female might grow a smaller one. This tusk is not a horn in the true sense, as it is made of ivory like an elephant's tusk. not keratin like the horn of a cow or a rhinoceros, but its appearance, so strikingly similar to the mythical unicorn's horn, was undeniable. It was the perfect candidate to fuel the legend. The Inuit people of the Arctic, of course, knew about narwhals. These whales were an important part of their traditional way of life, providing food and materials. However, for Europeans in the Middle Ages and Renaissance, the Arctic was a distant, almost mythical realm itself. Sailors and traders who ventured north and acquired these tusks had a vested interest in maintaining the unicorn mystique. It greatly increased the value of their finds. So the narwhal remained the unicorn of the sea, its true identity largely unknown to those who prized its tusk so highly in the warmer southern lands. The connection between the sea creature and the land-dwelling mythical horse was not widely made for a very long time. It wasn't until the 17th and 18th centuries, with increased exploration and scientific inquiry, that the narwhal's tusk was definitively identified as such by European naturalists. Danish zoologist Ole Worm is often credited with correctly identifying the narwhal tusk in 1638, though belief in the alicorn's powers persisted for some time after. This discovery was a significant step in demystifying the unicorn. While it didn't disprove the existence of a land unicorn entirely, it provided a rational, natural explanation for the most compelling physical evidence. The sea had given up one of its secrets, and in doing so, it chipped away at the foundation of the unicorn myth, revealing a fascinating real animal in its place. The narwhal, in its own right, is a wondrous creature, a testament to nature's strange and beautiful designs. Section 6. Land's armored cousins, rhinos and other horned beasts. While the narwhal provided the horn, other real animals likely contributed to the unicorn's physical description and perceived characteristics. Consider the rhinoceros, particularly the Indian rhinoceros. This powerful, thick-skinned creature possesses a single, prominent horn on its snout. Early European travelers to India, unfamiliar with such an animal, might well have described it in ways that, when retold, morphed into something more horse-like and mystical. Ctesias's account of a unicorn-like creature in India, described as swift and having a multicolored horn, could very well have been a garbled description of a rhino, perhaps combined with elements from other animals or local folklore. The rhino's formidable nature and its single horn are strong echoes of early unicorn legends. Another contender for inspiring parts of the unicorn myth is the oryx, a type of antelope found in Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. The oryx has two long, slender horns that, when seen in profile from a distance, can appear as a single horn. Oryxes are also known for their grace and speed, fitting some descriptions of the unicorn. It's plausible that sightings of these animals, especially fleeting glimpses where the two horns merged into one, could have contributed to the belief in a one-horned, horse-like creature. The desert environment where oryxes live also adds a touch of the exotic and remote, fitting for a mythical beast. The combination of its elegant form and the optical illusion of a single horn makes it a compelling candidate. Even more mundane creatures might have played a role, especially in cases of misidentification or deliberate deception. Goats or other horned livestock that, due to genetic anomaly or injury, developed only a single horn or had their horns artificially fused, could have been passed off as young or lesser unicorns. We know that the desire for unicorn horns was immense, and where there is demand, supply, sometimes fraudulent, will often follow. Such unicorns would have been less majestic than the legendary beast, but perhaps convincing enough to the hopeful or unwary. These instances, though not contributing to the grand myth, show how easily belief could be reinforced by manipulated reality. Therefore, the unicorn of legend was likely a composite creature, a tapestry woven from threads of various real animals. The narwhal provided the iconic spiraled horn. The rhinoceros offered its powerful build and single horn. The oryx contributed its grace and the illusion of a single horn from afar. And perhaps other creatures like wild asses, as Ctesias mentioned, known for their speed and untamable nature, added their characteristics to the mix. The human imagination then took these disparate elements, a horn from here, a body shape from there, a behavior from another, and blended them together, refining the image over centuries into the elegant, magical creature we recognize today. The unicorn in this sense is a testament to observation, misinterpretation, and creative synthesis. Section 7. Why we dream of unicorns, the power of hope and purity. The enduring belief in unicorns, even in the face of mounting scientific skepticism, speaks to something deep within the human psyche. Why do people, especially children, want to believe in these magical creatures? A significant part of the appeal lies in what unicorns represent. They are almost universally seen as symbols of purity, innocence, and grace. In a world that can often seem complicated, harsh, and cynical, the image of a pure white unicorn, untouched by malice, offers a sense of goodness and untainted beauty. This resonates deeply, offering a vision of perfection and an escape from the mundane. The unicorn is an emblem of the ideal, a creature that embodies all that is gentle and good. Furthermore, unicorns are intrinsically linked with magic and wonder. The belief in unicorns is a belief in a world where the extraordinary is possible, where enchantment is real. For children, whose imaginations are vast and unburdened by adult cynicism, the idea of a horse with a magical horn is not so far-fetched. It taps into a natural sense of wonder about the world and its possibilities. Even for adults, the unicorn can represent a longing for a touch of magic in their lives, a reminder of a time when the world felt more mysterious and full of secrets. This desire for enchantment, for something beyond the everyday, is a powerful human trait that unicorns perfectly embody. They are a doorway to a more magical reality. The unicorn's horn itself is a focal point of this desire. Historically, it was believed to have healing powers, to purify water and to ward off evil. This makes the unicorn a symbol of hope and protection. In times of sickness or fear, the idea of such a benevolent and powerful creature offered comfort. Even if people no longer literally believe a unicorn horn can cure illness, the symbolic association with healing and protection remains. The unicorn, in this sense, is a comforting presence, a mythical guardian against the troubles of the world. It represents the hope that even in darkness, there is a source of light, purity, and restorative power. This promise of well-being is deeply attractive. Finally, unicorns often represent freedom and untamed wildness. They are typically depicted as elusive creatures, difficult or impossible to capture, roaming free in pristine forests. This wildness appeals to our own desires for freedom and independence, for a connection to nature in its purest form. The unicorn is a symbol of what is untamable, what cannot be controlled or corrupted by human hands. This aspect resonates with a longing for authenticity and a return to a more natural state of being. The dream of unicorns is, in part, a dream of a world where beauty, magic, purity, and freedom coexist. A world that perhaps we all, in some small corner of our hearts, wish were real. Section 8. From ancient scrolls to sparkling toys, the unicorn's changing image. The image of the unicorn has not remained static throughout history. It has evolved, reflecting the changing beliefs, values, and artistic styles of different cultures and eras. In the earliest accounts, such as those by Ctesias, the unicorn was a rather fierce and wild creature. It was not necessarily the epitome of grace, but more a powerful, untamable beast of India, noted for its speed and dangerous horn. Its colors were described with specific, almost scientific detail: a white body, red head, blue eyes, and a tricolored horn. This early unicorn was more of a zoological curiosity, a marvel of the natural world as it was then understood, rather than the ethereal being it would later become. During the Middle Ages and the Renaissance in Europe, the unicorn underwent a significant transformation. It became deeply entwined with Christian symbolism, representing purity, innocence, and even Christ himself. The famous medieval tapestries like The Hunt of the Unicorn depict a beautiful white horse-like creature, often associated with a virgin maiden who alone could tame it. Its horn, the alicorn, was believed to be a powerful antidote to poison and a cure for diseases. This era solidified the image of the unicorn as a gentle, graceful, and benevolent creature, though still possessing immense mystical power. Its appearance became more standardized: a white horse with a long, spiraled horn, cloven hooves, and sometimes a goat's beard. This was the classic unicorn of Western lore. As the Age of Enlightenment dawned and scientific understanding grew, belief in the literal existence of unicorns waned among scholars. The narwhal tusk was identified, and explorers failed to find the land-based creature. However, the unicorn did not disappear. Instead, it galloped from the pages of natural history and religious allegory into the realm of fantasy literature and children's stories. In the 19th and 20th centuries, and certainly into the 21st, the unicorn became a beloved figure in fairy tales and imaginative play. Its image often softened further, becoming even more gentle and magical. It acquired associations with rainbows, glitter, and all things whimsical, appealing particularly to a young audience. Today, the unicorn is a ubiquitous icon in popular culture. It appears on everything from clothing and stationery to toys and digital media. Often these modern unicorns are depicted in vibrant colors, sometimes with wings, confusing them with pegasi or making them alicorns in a different sense, and almost always with a friendly, approachable demeanor. While some might lament the departure from older, perhaps more complex portrayals, this evolution demonstrates the unicorn's remarkable adaptability. It continues to capture the imagination, transforming itself to fit the desires and aesthetics of each new generation. From a fierce wild beast to a sparkling symbol of magic and dreams, the unicorn's journey through our culture is as fascinating as the creature itself. As Section 9, a creature of heart, if not of hoof, the enduring magic. So could unicorns be real animals, creatures that once roamed hidden forests or distant plains? Based on all the scientific evidence we have accumulated over centuries, the answer is almost certainly no. There are no fossils of horse-like creatures with a single central horn. No living specimen has ever been reliably documented by modern science, despite extensive exploration of the globe. The unicorn horns that once fetched fortunes have been identified as narwhal tusks, or the horns of other known animals. The ancient accounts that seem to describe them can largely be explained as misinterpretations, exaggerations, or descriptions of real animals like rhinoceroses or oryxes, seen through the lens of wonder and the unknown. Despite the lack of scientific proof, the unicorn remains incredibly real in another sense. It is real in our stories, in our art, and in our imaginations. For thousands of years, this creature has captivated humanity. It has symbolized purity, power, healing, grace, and wild, untamed beauty. These are qualities that people have always valued and yearned for. The unicorn provides a focus for these aspirations, a beautiful and potent symbol that speaks to our deepest hopes and dreams. The fact that it might not exist as a flesh and blood animal does not diminish its power as a myth, as an idea. Its reality is not one of biology, but of cultural significance and emotional resonance. Why then does this myth persist so strongly, especially for a young audience? Children, perhaps more than adults, are open to the possibility of magic. The world is still new to them, full of wonder and potential. A creature as beautiful and special as a unicorn fits perfectly into this worldview. It represents the extraordinary, the magical, something that makes the world a more exciting and enchanting place. The unicorn's association with goodness and gentleness also makes it a comforting and appealing figure. It's a friend from a dream, a guardian of innocence. The stories and images of unicorns feed this innate sense of wonder and desire for a touch of magic in life. In conclusion, while you are unlikely to ever encounter a biological unicorn grazing in a meadow, the creature is far from extinct. It lives on vibrantly in the human heart and mind. It is a testament to our capacity for imagination, our love of stories, and our enduring search for beauty, purity, and wonder in the world. The unicorn may not be an animal you can find in a zoo, but it is a beloved companion in the vast landscape of myth and legend. And there, in that realm of dreams and stories, its spiraled horn will continue to gleam, a beacon of magic for generations to come. Its reality is the reality of the stories we tell ourselves, and those can be very powerful indeed.